friends? We're back. We're Black and Curious. I'm Kendrin.
What up? What up? It is Deja. How y'all doing?
Hello. Sorry. If you've never been here before, we do a cross section of pop culture in real life. If that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and drop down and subscribe to our channel and like this video in advance. Today, we are back with Married to Medicine.
Married to medicine.
To medicine. We're doing the Med Gala and part one of the reunion. So go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So let's get into this reunion. But no, you're right. Let's start with the Met Gala. I don't even know
have
that
to
I
do
remember.
much on it. Honestly, we can
I mean, the biggest thing that I remember from the Met Gala is that cheap ass Toya who did not donate her $1,000 and was squawking about donating bottles of wine that didn't nobody ask for.
Let me tell you this right quick. It was tacky. It was cheap. Her whole little own step and repeat, and it's like, girl, at the risk of sounding a little extra or whatever, it's Kendall Jackson wine, hun.
And it is.
So
what? You got a partnership? Whoop-de-doo, baby.
And also, it's like it's a partnership. So them being at your Med Gala is helping them, and it's helping you. And you're saying like you get a certain number of bottles, which they talked about in the reunion a little bit more. You get a certain number of bottles as a part of your promotional situation to put them on. So yes, it was $1,200 worth of bottles, but it did not come out of your pocket. It did not come out of your business. It came out of Kendall Jackson's pockets in their business. So like at no point did you pay for $1,200 worth of anything. So donate your $1,000 and stop being cheap. It's $1,000. And I'm not saying that $1,000 is nothing, but I'm saying $1,000 is not that much for a doctor.
Nothing to them.
So
that's what I'm saying. Not that much to them.
Tacky. It was just tacky. Ugh.
Very much so.
And y'all know how I feel about been here. So this tracks for her. Go ahead.
Quad, Dr. G, and Sweet Tea.
At the Met Gala?
Yes. Quad is funny.
Funny.
Quad is funny. Because who talks to their ex like that? It was just so chipper and happy to be seen.
Hug your neck a little. You mind if I hug his neck a little? No, you don't even like that man. You divorced him.
Like, girl, what? And like, by all means, you're not bothered by him anymore, understandably. But like, you are really doing a lot right now, sis.
It was the most. In fact, it was the most. It wasn't a lot. It was the most. Because like, girl,
and he was so daggone flustered. He didn't know what to do with himself.
Neither one of them did. And this is why Quad is always going to run circles around this group, because neither Dr. G nor Sweet Tea knew what to do with Quad at all. All. They can talk all the trash they want to after the fact, behind the scenes, whatever. But at the end of the day, when Quad was sitting in their face asking, can she hug your husband? And you were like, well, I'll defer to him. And he said, yes. Y'all don't know what to do with this lady. Y'all don't know what to do with this lady. Y'all don't know what to do with her.
Side hug. And she just smiled. Sweetie just standing there smiling like a country bumpkin as she is.
Oh my God. And it was just like, she was like, I'm happy for y'all and I hope the best for y'all. That should have been your cue to say, same to you, and to walk away. And y'all just let that keep going and going and go. You're doing good. Each one individually. You're doing good together. Yes. Why didn't anybody say, oh, well, it's so good to see you. I hope you're doing well, and to walk away?
I'm saying eventually, I guess it got too awkward for Dr. G, and he did decide to make his exit, but like he almost left without Sweet Tea.
So much sooner. The both of them could have gone so much sooner, could have ended the conversation, hope you're well, and left. Foolish.
Okay, but you know.
Foolish.
We're going to, according to Dr. Heavenly, a few reality recaps back, she's alleged that Dr. G was still in love with her because of how he acted at that Met Gala. I'm like, because
it was giving very much like he was still trying to be in her company and still like kind of didn't really know, kind of flustered a little bit around her.
Mm-hmm.
That's your ex-wife. You should be done.
Mm-hmm. But I
So
don't think that he ever wanted to be done. You know that.
agreed. Oh, I thought this scene was funny with Kimma, no, with Dr. Alicia and the ladies, and they were kind of coaching her, like, girl, you can tell them that you're doing everything, but you don't do everything. Like, that's crazy. Like, you tell them that you're doing the laundry, but you send the laundry out. Or
Mm-hmm.
you have someone come and clean. Like, and I think Dr.
Don't do
Heavenly
all
was,
that.
Dr. Jackie was sort of, playing that game too, but Dr. Heavenly was kind of like, my husband's traditional too. And I just tell him what he wants to hear and tell little white lies and do things my own way. So you're gonna have to get to that
Long
point.
as it get done.
Long as
He
it
ain't
gets
checking. And clearly he ain't checking because she didn't have this YouTube channel all this long, and now he just now finding out about how she really get down.
done. So she's living her life. He probably at work or getting off of work in the shower or something. And she's up here running her mouth on YouTube. Dr. Heavenly, that is just running, running, running. He don't know what she's doing
Mm-hmm.
upstairs in that closet. Probably don't even
He
care.
don't care.
Probably don't know what
That
she's doing.
part don't care at all.
Mm. So
This Anila situation, she just looked like a straggler. You just want to
she
be on this
did.
show so bad.
She did. And the
So
fact that
bad.
she and Toya were
Because
back good after she was the one that said Toya was having an affair in the neighborhood or something. Girl,
and
sure.
that's the part that really irritated me because it's like you keep throwing this allegation at Quad, and she's the one who brought it to your attention.
Mhm.
Like, or no, I don't even know if she brought it to her attention. Somebody, it was the attorney that
Oh
was on
yeah.
her in the previous season.
Oh yeah. I forgot
And
about
so, like, it happened at Quad's house, but it wasn't Quad's fault.
yeah. It's true.
It's very weird. It's just like you don't like her and you want to blame her for
For
whatever
everything.
thing you can find to put on her.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy.
So speaking of which, let's go to Quad at the reunion. The people keep alleging that Quad is just there for the check, and I just want to know why that's a problem.
Because some of them are there for the check and the friendship. And they feel bamboozled.
Yeah. So Dr. Heavenly said on a side conversation, which I know I'm supposed to be against, but I did watch that one. She basically said that Quad checks out, which it seems like Quad is almost like a melody. Like when we recording, we
You said
recording,
that.
and when we not, I don't really have to fool with y'all like that, only to a certain extent. And so it seems like Quad just checks out. And I felt like all the groveling and begging that they want Quad to do and to be a part of their friend group, honestly, they
She ain't
benefit
doing
from
that.
Quad more than she benefits from them.
Mm-hmm.
I dare to say.
I mean, give or take. Like if she plays nice, she gets more time, gets more money. The check is bigger.
Yeah,
So it's kind of like a
true.
trade-off.
It's a trade-off, but
And the girls need to just like disillusion themselves of the idea that they're gonna have a real and genuine relationship. No,
yeah.
this is a work relationship and we're gonna get this money and
Yeah.
move on.
But I would say Quad keeps the show interesting though, because when Quad wasn't on the show, the second she left the show, it was like, okay, there's nothing left here. And you can go back
No,
to our
but we was
reviews.
talking about her.
Right. We can go back to our reviews and see, like, we were thrilled when Quad was on the show and her and Phaedra were being a mess together. But the second that Quad left, Phaedra no longer had a purpose, and the rest of the show was boring.
I agree. The reunion wasn't giving what I thought it would give initially. There was a point where Quad was just broke up and hysterically crying, but there were no tears whatsoever.
No, I didn't like that. That was where I was going next. So
I was like,
Simone,
what? Like
no,
Simone was
because
really crying. She
wait,
had
what part
real
are you talking
tears.
about?
When Simone made mention of a tragedy that happened with Quad, and
I didn't like
it
that.
was at that point. It was at that point because she was saying she was using that like this thing happened. Yes, we haven't been speaking all this long, but this very serious thing happened in Quad's life, and I reached out to her then. as if she basically was saying, like, I've been reaching out this whole time. No, we have not been in relationship with one another, but I'm still reaching to see about Quad. Quad does not reach back, was her whole point.
I
But like
understood why
when
she
they
said it. I just thought it was a low blow for her to say it. And Quad was almost pleading with her. It felt like Quad was almost pleading for her not to say that. And as somebody who has lost family members in tragic ways, like
yeah,
when people are grieving and are actively working through stuff, you don't use that as an opportunity to throw stuff in their faces. And that's what it felt like to me.
I can
Simone could
understand
have
that.
said, she could have said, you know, when tragedy struck you, I reached out to you, and she could have left it at that. She did not have to go into
Yeah.
that much detail and bring all of that back to the
Did he
top for
ask?
Quad.
I want to say that she was, because she started it with, she had a tragic event happen. And then I want to say that maybe, and y'all could correct me in the comments, but I want to say that Andy asked, well, well, what happened
He
to
did.
make
He
you,
kind of like drew it out a little bit, but
yeah. Like she
but
didn't start out to say all of that.
right, I agree with you. But Andy was like, well, kind of like what happened, and she was like,
Yeah.
she had a tragedy at her house. Andy never asked for anything more than that. At that point, Quad was like, Simone, please. And every time,
Yeah.
so it was like Simone was pausing as if she was like, how far am I going to go? And in those pauses, Quad was pleading with her not to keep going. And Simone kept going. And it was very clear that Quad was like, I'm sure she feels it like so guilty about that. And it's like, what was the point of bringing up that level of detail to get to the
Yeah.
point that you have reached out to her? You could have said she had a
Like, why
tragedy at
did
her
you
home.
need that?
We didn't need
Yeah.
that. And honestly, I hadn't heard that story and I felt horrible for Quad.
Neither had I.
Horrible. And it wasn't on the show. And this has happened since the show filmed, it seemed like. So it's like, this is
Mm-hmm.
fresh for her. Why would you bring that up? And maybe she wasn't crying real tears or whatever, but that lady seemed devastated, devastated that what Simone was bringing up.
I
I,
don't know that
I,
the emotion and the carrying on, I don't know that I buy any of it. I
I'm sorry.
understand the severity of the situation. Because because like if you watch it on Peacock, it shows you the raw like footage. So
Right.
not unless they cut out pieces of it,
And I'm sure
it
they
just seemed
did.
like it seemed like she was carrying on and giving us the dramatics, and then a couple seconds later it was like dry face and
Nah,
like everything was fine.
no, I'm not getting
I
ready
don't
to
know.
question somebody's grieving that way. No, there's something like that happened at her house within the last year. I am sure she is raw. And I am not willing to say, like, oh, she didn't shed tears. Like, maybe it's just
That's
me.
not what I'm saying.
No,
I'm
no, no.
saying that
I'm
it
just
looked
saying
like
I've
it was
seen
an
people
act
talk
being
about
had.
that. I've seen people
Yeah.
saying like she wasn't shedding tears or blah blah blah. I'm not saying, I'm just not willing. There are certain things that I'm just not willing to question, and her feelings about someone, about what happened at her house is one of those things. Like that, it just seemed low. It just seemed low and too low to me.
I hear you. I don't know. We're gonna see how this continues to play out, but
And I'm
that
happy
scene
to
was a
admit that
lot.
maybe I'm projecting as well. So that's possible. But like it just was awful.
It just struck me as like the dramatics that Quad puts on. Yes, she might have very much have emotions tied to the incident, the unfortunate events that happened at her home with her loved one, but it just seemed very put on in the moment, and maybe that's how it was edited. You know what I
Maybe.
mean? Like that's more or less where I'm coming from, because when it cut back to Simone, Simone was like in full on tears. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Like maybe we missed something. Sometimes that's what happens. We miss a piece in
Yeah.
translation.
And I'm sure
So
with, you know, with people breaking down and stuff, like they're gonna cut things out. Like they have to. You can't watch somebody
Yeah.
have a full-on meltdown on the stage. We don't know what happened in between the two, you know, moments. Like they're cutting, all of this stuff is heavily edited. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I thought it was just in very, very poor taste. That's all.
What do we have next on our list? Was that it?
Pretty much. I did like when, I don't remember what Andy did, but they played sort of like a watch what happens live style game, like raise your hand if you think this, raise your hand if you think that. I kind of like that for the reunion. It breaks it up a little bit for me. So it's not all just a bunch of yelling back and forth. And you can get a lot of information.
Flashbacks over the 10 years.
Yeah, like you can get a lot of information by like the raise your hand if you think game. You know what I mean? Without having to like go down the line and have everybody arguing across the stage. So I like that, and I like the flashbacks too.
So far, I was impressed with the conversations that were had. The thing that I will say that stood out to me was at the end of this episode, Quad and Dr. Jackie having that moment to the side where Dr. Jackie was like, yeah, it was a thought that you might have had something to do with it. And Quad was like, well, why didn't you call me? And Jackie was like, we hadn't been in communication all that long, and there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
Like, I respect her for that.
Yeah.
Like,
for
you get a buck. We weren't really in relationship, so I'm not going to call you for something that I think that you could have done. Like, why would I talk to you about it if I think you did it?
And then we see Heavenly, of course, is in the mix again, where she was actually the person that told Quad not to call, which maybe was a good thing, but maybe not. But she was the one that actually told Quad, like, not right now, maybe some other time, but like,
it's not a good time.
She's going through enough. But we know it was Buffy probably who pulled that information up on Dr. Jackie, anyways.
Girl, allegedly. We're gonna save that for the next recap of the reunion, okay? Because I'm sure something will surface by the time between now and then. Yeah. All right, y'all. Get down in the comments. Let us know what your thoughts are of you over the last two episodes, the reunion and the Med Gala episode. And make sure that you are liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we will see you all in the next conversation.
Bye.
Bye, friends.